Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, so like for this, basically, you want to start off introducing yourself. Oh, hold on, sorry, let me put myself in mute really fast. Focus mode. Okay, so starting off, like, hey, my name's Jody. I'm the founder of Good Vibes Cookie Co. We're a hand-painted artisan cookie company. Our cookies are something that we've really created to become a part of a daily ritual. It's just a little indulgence that you can have with your latte that really brings in the good vibes to your day. Our cookies are all hand painted by myself with top high quality ingredients. And we've worked with clients like Drew Barrymore, Justin Timberlake, whoever said, and they've created this to be something that's incredibly special. We work with large groups as well as, corporate clients to bring this as a special offering and opportunity for, everybody from like families, parties, executives. It's a really great way to bring people together and connect. And right now, we're looking to raise capital to allow our company to scale, because thus far it's all been done in a commercial kitchen by myself with just very limited help. And obviously I'm realizing with the demand that we've driven for these cookies that, it's just not sustainable for me to continue to do that. And I'm ready for a bigger expansion and scaling. And so, XYZ, here's what I'm asking for, like I'm asking for more people, like I'm looking for more clients to really come in and do these bigger events so I can make this more sustainable and, just have like bigger corporate connections. Or I'm looking for XYZ to really be able to afford my own production space, or to do, my own marketing and like collaboration with a marketing agency for the next like 12 to 18 months. And yeah, things like that, like think about what your ask is, like what you need, like what do you need to take it to the next step? That's the question. Like, what does Jody need to take it to the next step? Like, be real and asking for what you need, whether it's like, let's say you need $250,000 so you can have like your own little shop, like where you have space, like your own little commercial kitchen. You probably need more than that. Like, do you want a shop to sell crystals? Like, do you want to like, maybe you want to make a shop on Venice Beach and sell crystals and crystal cookies and like, have it as an event space, whatever it is, like make that ask clear and just like think about that, like as you're talking about it. Or if you're just saying, hey, I'm raising capital, like I just wanted to let you know so we can stay in touch. I don't have clear numbers yet. But I'm looking to do that in the future because we've had such a high demand. It's just starting to be something that's just, I can't keep up with on my own. So I'm looking to outsource help. I'm looking to outsource incredible advisors that will support me and just taking this business to the next step. I've been growing by myself for 4 years now. Is that right?
Six.
6 years. 6 years now. And so, now I'm ready to really begin a process of expansion, and I'm super excited about it. Just like talk about your successes, because you've been doing this for a while, you have worked with incredible clients. And I think that's something that you can highlight that really brings strength to your story. And yeah, just highlighting again in the beginning, like artistry, like your place in the business. Like you can even talk, if it's a 5-minute pitch, talk a little bit about yourself, your background. Why is this important? And so just kind of getting into that space of like talking about it, like introducing myself, introducing the brand, talking about my backstory that like made the brand, moving into why the cookies are special, who we've worked with, like what are we solving, what are we offering, and like boom, 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 just continue to go through it. Like make yourself bullet points and figure out what you feel is important, and then what you're wanting from people as you're sharing this. Like, are you wanting to share this with them because they're going to be like, your next corporate client where you do a big event with them and you're going to make a bunch of money? Or like, so how are you positioning it differently versus like you're wanting to meet an investor who can potentially advise you on how to build this company and scale it? Like what is it?
Yeah.
It's just a different ending, for the story that you're telling each time. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, because this little thing that I put together was more about, like I explained to you both the other day, educating people what I'm doing more than like a pitch to make money. Like I'm glad that you explained both, and how they could both be one of the same, and it's just how you end it, I guess.
Pretty much.
Because that's I just I met with Goop, and I got the client, which is amazing. And I've been trying to manifest this for 4 years working with them. But it's interesting because every time, so you sit down with these people, and of course you're like, oh, they're Goop, they're bigger than I am, which yeah, they are, but they also are like humans like I am. So I always try to like humanize the experience and talk about the company in that realm. But I think I always kind of freak out. Like I take that moment of like, oh God, tell me about the company. It's like, or tell me a fun fact about you. It's like one of those funny memes that you always say, like, oh God, the worst thing is someone to ask me, let me know about, what's making you happy today? And you're like, oh shit, you know? So I think that's, I think one of my, like, it's the small bite to the big chunk, right? That I don't know how
Mhm.
to explain that and educate them. Just like, what do you do? Tell me about the company, or like when you sit down with someone, like
Yeah.
I was with like all these heads of the departments. I'm like,
Hmm.
oh God, like
Hmm.
even tomorrow I'm working with Annenberg, and even just like talking to everyday people, it's like, I need that off the cuff, but practiced, you know?
Yeah, totally. That's the thing, it's just something where you need to land your bullet points. Like you need to make your bullet points in your head and think of your bullet points kind of like pivots, like, you're writing a story around the bullet points every single time. Anytime you have like a different story, like you still need to hit founder intro, brand intro, like point of differentiation. If you want to go into the problem solution portion because it's more investor oriented, great, check that bullet too. If you want to, talk about what your ask is, check that too. If you just want to talk more about the products, like put those in, like put your bullet points in a line and say, like, I talked to X person about X. I talked to investors about this bullet point. I talk to new clients about this bullet point, like, and just know that there's like some ones that are kind of inarguable, and it's going to be slightly different every time. Like you just need to hit those bullet points. Like when I go on stage to do a presentation, like I said, I don't ever have like full paragraphs written anywhere, because then you would be like, it would just be overwhelming to read it. It would be overwhelming to scan it. Like for me, I find that completely unhelpful. Like I want to have a bullet point where I know the story that I've made up in my head around that bullet point, and then just roll with that. Like that way it comes, it's like, it's more natural rather than like something you're reading off like a page, right? It's something like, I know my story, so let me tell it. And it's going to be a little different, a little spicy, like this way every single time. Like the flavor is going to be slightly like changed, but it's still going to be my story, and it just like, however it comes out that day, the more that you get used to practicing it, like the more it'll just roll off your tongue, and the more that you can continue to get just super comfortable with it, because it's your story, like get excited about it. And again, what I hear when I listen to your story about like meeting with people like Goop or whoever, I hear like that thing about upper limits coming in. Do you remember I talked to you about upper limits in one of the last classes?
Yes, I'm sure.
Okay.
It's,
Upper
yeah,
limits are when you like, we perceive that our limitation is here. This is our upper limit. And so when we hit an upper limit, which is this made up boundary that we've created, our body oftentimes goes into fear response. It goes into like fright, flight, freeze, whatever it is, because we're like, okay, we don't deserve this. But like, you deserve that meeting with Goop. You deserve more meetings like that, like, and when you encounter that limiting belief, like, oh, this is where I stop, even when you're already up here,
yeah.
like ease your body into it and find something like soothing to do after you experience that like over the top of the limit experience, like with Goop. Find something like boring and soothing to do, like go for a walk and just like be with yourself in gentleness, and reprogram your nervous system and say, I just experienced something that was outside of my limitations and it makes me uncomfortable. So I'm going to get comfortable here,
Yeah, I'm doing a program to be magnetic, and I'm all
Yeah.
about that. Like I have my deep
Good.
imagining, I do before and after, and it's, all that stuff. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I think my thing is when it comes to like there's no, when I walked into there was no doubt my client, they were my client, whether or not they like me or not, like, or were able to place me in the company, they were my client. These are my people, like this is where I'm supposed to be. And I like, I command the space. Um,
Mhm.
I guess I worry that because of what I do, it does have to be educational. So I worry that it sounds like preachy. And I also want like the idea of what I do to be palatable, meaning
Mhm.
like fully palatable, but also palatable to like a person that knows nothing about anything spiritual, but I'm educating them, on like, it's like a toe dip. I always like to say that it's a toe dip into the spiritual realm. And in the
Mhm.
end, you're getting a delicious cookie. If that's
Right.
all you leave with, awesome. I did my job. If you get so much more, even better. Like that's welcome. And
Mhm.
I think I worry that I don't want to be one of those preachy, because that's not who I am. And that's not what the brand is. It's approachable, you know.
Right.
So I
Yeah,
don't
and
know how
I
to
think
verbalize that.
yeah, I think that there's a super fine line to walk, just depending on who you're talking to. Like for example, I worked before I got into startups. I worked in the wine industry. I did a wine startup as my first startup, right? And so like our wine technology was actually super geeky. And so I had to kind of learn how to speak a little bit of like the tech language to like the people who I was pitching to who were in the startup space and like in the tech space. And then I also, I knew the wine language, but I kind of had to understand like where I could meet people with these things, right? And it's really different with every person that you're talking to. Like, how can you create bridges for people that are, accessible? Like, I always tell people when you're like dealing with a niche or specialty product, you got to build the foundation for them to understand what you're talking about, which for me is like talking about the basic stuff about the brand that people can understand. These are like artisan hand painted cookies. And, we infuse them with good vibes because XYZ, like this is what we believe. And then if people want to get more interested in like the spiritual aspect or in like the vibrational aspect of it, then you can go deeper into that. Just read the audience, and have that be another bullet point. Like, do we check this one today? These are a bunch of serious investors. Are they going to care? Meh, probably not, but they're going to love the fact that I work with Drew Barrymore and like IBM and Forbes and crushed it in the financial realm. So, with Goop, I think it's cool because you'll probably get like a little bit of both, right? A little column A, column B. Like you can talk to them about the kind of witchy spiritual stuff and then also talk to them about like how successful you've been financially. And so, yeah, it's just really like, again, the audience, like attention is where you're going to need to just make your edits and make your decisions on that. Because if it's somebody who isn't interested in it, there's no reason to do it. It's just going to waste your time and theirs, and they're not going to feel aligned with it. But if you can make it still approachable for them, and have them like, buy into something about it that they're already bought into, I think that's where the success is really going to be.
Yeah. And we're always our biggest critic because it's like, you leave it and you're like, God, I could have said this, I should have said that. And then the people that are actually in the and the feedback you get, you're like, oh, I killed it. Okay. Okay.
Right, exactly.
Let's go. So
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nicole, welcome. How are you today?
Hi, good. I'm in the kitchen again.
Hey,
Sorry about being so late. I just fires here and there. Not literal fires, thankfully, but anyways, I'm here.
no worries. Welcome.
Okay, so are we doing um our short pitch?
Yeah,
Okay.
give me your 5-minute pitch whenever you're ready.
I have to say, like I have given many presentations in my life, and this is by far probably the hardest thing to organize, and I will say that even after doing this, I'm probably we'll see. Like you said, like our own biggest critic.
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
so I want to say I didn't time myself when I did this. I just
Totally
kind of
fine.
let it flow, I guess. Okay, so Masa
You're a
Catalina
chef?
is an LA based. I'm sorry.
I, I was gonna say you're a chef, so I know you have that internal timer and you're gonna do great.
Oh. Okay, testing me here, but okay, let's do this. So Masa Catalina is an LA-based Philly Mexicali cucina, which is kitchen in Tagalog that celebrates the regional and diverse flavors of Filipino and Mexican cuisines with a commitment to sourcing high-quality ingredients. We aim to rediscover our roots by weaving traditional and modern techniques that allow multiple lifestyles to share a meal together. Our business was born during the pandemic with its core inspired by our Mexipino family and our love for food. The short version of my entrepreneurship journey is that I became a parent and I wanted to create a legacy and a good foundation that my daughter can build on, where she can also connect and be proud of her Filipino and Mexican roots through food. The long version was before the pandemic, and it's made of many layers and reasons, starting with my love for food and design and the curveballs that life throws at you. I came to the United States as an immigrant and a daughter to a mom I did not grow up with. It took a while for my mom to get her legal status, but once we're all together again, she managed to provide for me and my family generously as a single parent. I grew up with my grandmothers, who both ran a short order food business out of their house. I would help in small ways, and the truth is, food is really at the core of our family and our love language. I knew one day that I would like to do the same, build a family on food. I lost my mom to breast cancer, and 2 years later, my dad to a heart attack. Before this, I've never paid attention to food quality. Fast forward, the pandemic came and I was laid off before giving birth. I turned to food as part of my postpartum healing. And before then, you know, my husband and I had our own health struggles, and having learned the power of food, we embarked on our new lifestyle journey, beginning with food. We decided to eat more plant-based diet, but I was not, you know, satisfied. I still longed for meat, dairy, and eggs. My husband, on the other side, had found compelling results in his cholesterol levels, so he decided to stay plant-based. However, our issues now is, you know, in the 2 years that he's been vegan, we haven't been able to find a place where we can truly enjoy a meal together. We always have to stop by in one place to get what I would like to eat, and then another place for him to get, you know, what he would like to eat, what he would find satisfying in the plant-based realm. So this is why, in, you know, incorporating that kind of problem into our business, we found a way to provide food for both people, just like our family, where, you know, we have a plant-based diet, and then we have a, you know, a non-vegan diet, and on top of that, you know, the layer of the Filipino and Mexican flavors that I would say many are also familiar with, but at the same time still discovering what they are. So, and again, to pursue my passion for food, we decided to found Masa Catalina, using high quality ingredients with the additional purpose of having our daughter connect with her Mexican and Filipino roots. That's how far. That's all I've gone to. So give me the feedback, the raw feedback.
Yeah, I think it's great. I really like how you weaved your story and your family story in there. I think the longer story is great. And I think it's important to just highlight, you know, your journey. I think you did a great job of that. The things that I would want to hear more about, I want to hear even more about the products. I want to hear more about the ingredients. I want to hear about those things and how they make that difference too. And then I want to know, what's your ask? You know, are you guys fundraising? Do you want more support? Are you looking for more customers? Like, who is this pitch going to be for primarily? That's what I'm curious. Are you gonna raise capital, or are you just wanting to find more like bigger catering business and clients, or like individuals? What are you looking for with this too?
I think right now I'm just in the grant realm to raise capital. I've been applying to different grants, and then possibly with whatever or whatever, you know, format that whatever I get from that, I'll probably reformat it when I'm ready to apply for a loan. I don't really find myself being able to raise that kind of money through grants fast enough. And I don't really, I've been using my own, I've been self-funded this whole time. So like from 2 years ago to where I'm at now. And I feel confident and better to do things that way. Not that I'm not a fan of like Kickstarter or those other campaign programs. I just find that this is kind of what I would like to do, and maybe like to keep most of the control as well. I've had people approach me for possibly investing and becoming an investor if we start to grow. But I'm just not at the point in time where I'm ready to kind of share that control, especially with how young like my business is at the moment.
Okay. Yeah,
So that's kind of where I'm at.
that makes sense. And so one thing I just want to let you know too, like you can ask for investment money and ask for people to be silent partners or to be hands off, so that they don't have control in the business. They're just literally investing in your dream, and that way you can do it either as a payback schedule to them, for like the equity, like, or for the capital they gave as like a loan with like interest. Or you can do it as equity, meaning that they just get a percentage of the company. Like first they get paid back and then they get like a percentage of the company, like profits for, moving forward. Like there's very many different ways that you can organize how you would like to receive investment from people. So that's something to think about, is like how you're wanting to do that moving forward. Like if you wanted to do that, which it sounds like you do, but you just don't want to give up the control, then, there's ways to strategize around that, like, and also, yeah, like having like there's just different ways to do that. So don't feel like that's fully off the table. Just be careful and be thoughtful in how you're structuring that, because it will allow you like freedom to be able to do that if you do it right. There's a lot of ways that like, yeah, you can invest in restaurant-based businesses or like food-based businesses that are very like holistic and meaningful for the actual restaurants and the people themselves. So yeah, just wanted to remind you of that there too.
Okay, thank you. Hold on a moment. Sorry, I have another little fire. I'm listening, but I'll just be on the background. Sorry.
No worries, you're good. I think that's a lot of my feedback, like just be like clear in what you're wanting and know that those options are out there, and you can get, like, when you're ready, you can get a lawyer and like talk to a lawyer about how to structure that, or like get an advisor and find an advisor that will help you structure that. Because, I've had friends that like I've helped raise money for multiple restaurants, and like there's ways to keep your advisors or like keep your people who are investing like as non-active members in your company. Like you don't have to give up that control, because, unless there are restaurant people, why would you want to do that anyways? Like most people try to come in, like, I guess I've seen some people do that and it has been really bad, but like, you don't have to allow that. Like I've seen some people come in and just be like totally, off the grid and just say, okay, cool, we get like a dining stipend or something, or we get like, X percentage back of the company, and it just keeps them out of your business, other than to know that that's what you need to budget for in the future to pay them back, or to keep them like, in integrity, like with the business, like keep them, happy with their investment. So that is a thing to consider for the future. Cool. All right. Anything else, ladies? Jody, yes.
So I have a question just out of like knowledge. Do you feel as if, I have a lot of friends who started brands 6 years ago, 10 years ago, and they were able to do it like, self-funded and so on and so forth. It sounds to me that most companies now cannot grow self-funded. Like it sounds like I've been playing around with the idea, do I bring an investor? Do I bring a partnership? Like, what does it look like? I've been doing all parts of it for so long, and it's hard to understand or even to see what that light would look like. Like Nicole was saying, like, I understand where Nicole's coming from. I created my business kind of in the same space, for my kids, like same idea, concept in a different realm, right? But
Right.
it's scary to go from maybe where we both are to, like I want to go into the CPG. I'm totally different in that respect. Like I want to do a CPG. Is it feasible to do it by yourself? Is that the world we live in? You know what I mean? If you don't have money, like I don't have a trust fund. I don't have,
Yeah, I mean, it's totally feasible to do that, but just to know that like it's going to be something you build as a longer term thing. You know, it's not something that you'll be able to do in a quicker way, but you will maintain full control over the business. I've seen people do both things, and I've seen both things work, and I've seen both things not work. It really depends on, you know, what your goals are, because I see a lot of entrepreneurs who are wanting to scale, but then who are also exhausted because they're doing it by themselves. And it's like, I can't actually do this and scale by myself. I can continue kind of as is with maybe some help, maybe like one other person coming in soon, but it's still going to be exhausting because you don't have somebody to like, you know, be with and like support you in these things. And so, or support you financially, right? So you can actually get like the momentum to like have that extra capital behind you to take like a chance and hire somebody new to like, you know, bring in to train, blah, 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 or to get like a facility to like make your production process more efficient, like whatever it is, you know? And so, you know, for myself in pretty much all of my businesses, I have done partnerships and I've taken the partnership route. And for the most part, that's served me well. You know, it actually hasn't worked every time. And I've been partnered into multiple companies, and there's always, you know, the chance that it's not going to work well, right? But if you take time ahead of time and you set clear professional boundaries and make clear agreements in the beginning, the likelihood of that is very like it's smaller, you know, like it still does happen. And you do, you know, for the sake of like asking for support, give up some of the control, which is hard. Like I'm a control freak. I'm a micromanager. You know, I have to like talk myself out of that, right? And thankfully I have partners who are great about reminding me that that doesn't help them or us to show up in that way, right? But you know, it's something that it is it can go either way no matter what you do. And so if you want that and you truly feel, hey, I'm overwhelmed, but I feel like I have a good potential to grow this company, I think it's good to look for somebody else. Maybe it's just one other person to partner into it, and maybe it's investors to support the financial needs of the business, so you can take a step back and hire people under you to make it go quicker, so you can do, you know, what you do best, like let's say being the face of the business. And like, you know, the other things you can kind of train other people to do who will really enjoy doing that. And, you know, that's like, you have to think about, we talked about this before, areas of genius, right? Like, what are you incredible at that you love? So if that's sales and like hosting these events, how can you get more of the things off of your plate so you can focus exclusively on that? Because that's how the business is going to grow, with you out there on the ground doing that. And like you love the artistry of the, you know, working on like the cookies and like painting them and everything. But, you know, is that something only you can do? You know, like, is that something you can hand off to people who are also extremely artistic and willing to do this with you? Probably, you know, like you'll have to show them how to do it, but like that can take that off your plate and free up time for you to go and make the sales, to go and make these partnerships with Goop, you know, because you can't have the person who's painting your cookies go do that. You can't have somebody who's like not really invested in the company and knows the company do those big transactions and those big, you know, like those big meetings. That has to be you. And for you to be able to do that and to even be able to look for more of that, you need to have the things that are more basic covered. Right. So those are the things, like those are areas of excellence and competence, right, that you're covering. Like the cookie painting is something that's your area of excellence. You love it and you're good at it, but other people can do it too. You know, same thing with the competence. What other things in the business could you hand off that like you're good at, but you don't love or really care about? And, you know, you just are doing it right now because you have nobody else to do. Is that like bookkeeping? Is that, you know, whatever else it is, like packaging the products, like who knows? So just sit and think about those things, and then think about like, if I had this scenario, like where I had these things that I don't love, that take up a lot of my time and take me away from the most productive aspects that I bring to the business, like how would I replace myself in these? How much would it cost? And then, you know, could I do that with one person as a partner, or could I do that with investor money? And then really think about like, again, how much would that cost to do that and do that well? And just, you know, set yourself up for success. You know, think about what kind of like limitations you would draw if you were bringing a partner, if you were bringing an investor, like what's a non-negotiable for you? You know, I wish somebody had told me that more clearly before I brought in my first partner. I had to end up buying her out of my marketing company, and that was difficult. You know, like what were my professional boundaries then? I didn't know. So, you know, I had to figure that out later and just be like, okay, my professional boundaries are XYZ. And, you know, they didn't work for us. So we ended up separating our ways, right? But if you do that with my other partners, I have done that, you know, and you set clear boundaries in the beginning, like, here's what you're making, here's what you're doing. We have the right to renegotiate this if this doesn't work. And here's the timeline for your equity. Here's this and here's this, like, here's what I'm expecting. You know, you're going to get what you want, or you're going to be able to have the freedom and rights to protect yourself and say, hey, this isn't working. Thank you, but I appreciate your work and we're done now, you know? And so, yeah.
I think that for my personal thing, I've been doing this 6 years by myself, all of it, and I have found a co-packer to take the offload of the cookies, but I think my biggest obstacle is finding a person who could navigate the business space of what I'm doing.
Mhm.
And finding, well, number one, finding them, like, I don't interact with a lot of people, and I also believe that I need to find someone who is nothing like me and
Yeah.
that can balance out that other portion. And I actually had a meeting with a pretty famous cookie gal the other day, founder, and she's like, yeah, I found a mentor who in turn also became he was a mentor, a financial advisor, and then he became a part of the business. He owns a small part of the business, and that's how she grew it, was
Mhm.
because she was aligned with the right people. Thank you, babe. She was aligned with the right kind of people, but this man was someone that was in her community, like, you know what I mean? Like, it was like a father's friend or something, you know, like it. And what happens when you don't have those kinds of people in your world, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a matter of networking. Like, I just sharing more on my personal background. I think if you remember, like, I worked in restaurants. I was a sommelier, you know, like I was a like restaurant person for like 10 years before I got into like marketing and startups. And like I just continued to grow my network from there. And like now I work in like venture capital, like I work as a venture associate, I consult on startups. Like, if you had asked me when I started working as like a bartender in San Francisco, my first year in the city, you know, if I would have wanted, if I would have thought I would be doing this stuff now, I'd be like, you're crazy. How is that even possible? But like networking is key, you know? How can you put yourselves in, or put yourself in like situations that are really like conducive to networking, you know, like how can you put yourself in situations where you're going to meet those people? Like my question is, are you a part of Startup CPG Slack? Do you have that on your radar?
I follow them. I actually, Victoria, my other, advisor was like, you need to become a part of that. So that's, yeah.
Join us at CPG Slack. That's a really good opportunity to meet people. You can ask questions on that Slack channel and you have questions answered from people all over the world in like 5 seconds. It's pretty impressive the amount of knowledge that's there and the strength of that community. And they also do weekly meetups. Another opportunity is Naturally LA, you know, like Naturally LA has a really good network and they do networking events, which are specifically targeted towards bringing product-based businesses together in like the health or wellness spaces and like, you know, putting them in front of people and investors and like buyers. And so they have stuff like that often. Startup CPG also organizes like buyer tastings, and there's all kinds of cool opportunities. You just have to continue to look and continue to try to find ways to tap into what your network is, like who your network is and people who have similar experience. Because, you know, you're super personable and you're super warm and what you're doing is really great. And I feel like it is such an LA thing. Like it's amazing and people will buy into it and then they'll make introductions. And it's just, you know, finding that time as an entrepreneur to network sometimes can be hard, but so critical for bringing together the like material and non-material resources that you need, like the people that you need, like the funds that you need. Like it's all about who you know. And again, like it's all about you selling your story because, you know, again, you're building something and, you know, people want to hear about the founder story. They want to buy into you, whether that's like on an emotional level or like physically purchasing something, but that's what they want to do. And so, yeah, continuing to just really dive into the network and just build that. There's plenty of ways.
I've been to a lot of different things and I'm a part of a lot of different communities, and it's interesting because, and Maybelline and I've talked about this, that like, we're all there for the same reason, but the camaraderie is not the same. Does that make
Mhm.
sense? Like the intention behind it doesn't feel the same, and that
Mhm.
people's follow through is not the same as my follow through, which has gotten quite frustrating. And like
Mhm.
someone said to me, oh, you should create an advisory board with people you know in all different aspects to help you grow, because maybe they have a solution, like you said, oh, maybe they have a different kind of solution. Like, I don't know, maybe it's the people that I'm surrounded with. Like, I reach out to people and ask, and there's no follow through. And I find it very frustrating, and I don't know if this is only me. I don't know, like,
Yeah, I was gonna say, sadly, I find that to be more of an LA thing, which is why I ended up choosing San Francisco over LA to like start all the things that I was doing for the most part. But LA does have a good community. I do feel like people can be a little more fake nice, and not just in the personal world, but in like the professional world too. So that's challenging, but you just got to keep going. Like, this is one of the biggest things that they told me when I first started fundraising for my company. I was like, man, how many times am I going to hear no? Like, it's just one of those things. You got to keep going until you get the yeses that you need, and not be discouraged, because the people, like the people that you want are out there. And all you can continue to do is like refine your story, refine your product, refine what you're doing until you are like literally crystal clear on everything that you want to do. And it just looks tied up, buttoned down, whatever it is. And, people can't help but say yes. It's just going to be a continued process of like fine tuning. You got this, like you're on that path, you getting Goop as a client is a huge like feather in your cap, and continuing to look for stuff like that is awesome and instrumental to what you're doing.
And I'm very lucky in the fact that the community I have, like the actual client community, not the people I'm reaching out to like make connections with. Like next week, I'm working with the Kipton hotels, but on their larger scale, the IHG brand, because I'm representing Los Angeles for them as a brand, and I'm doing my thing. It's super cool. But like you said, it's she's been a client, the gal who's in charge of marketing there. She's been a personal client that I had no idea what she did, but she keeps putting me out there with her people. And like, I'm going to be in front of Forbes magazine, actually. Like, I'm going to be in front of all these really big names. It's just trying to find them they always reconnect. Like the gal at Goop was from a different client that I didn't even work with her directly, but she kept me in her back pocket when she left that one client and went to so that's where all the connections that I've made come from, really. It's not by my issue is building the brand internally, business wise, like understanding, because my background's in art and design, and like if you gave me a clothing line, I could build that for you in a moment. It's understanding the nuances of building a food brand.
Yeah. Have you thought about looking for like a chief operations officer or like somebody to do operations and like, or something of that nature, like a partner for that specifically?
Yes, I have. Number one, I have no idea where to look. And also I'm literally like, I take from one pocket to the other. Like I'm a single mom with 2 kids. I'm raising alone. So it's like any money I make, basically, like it's like I need someone to help me structure, like you said. I don't even know, like, and that person would have to be willing to, okay, well, I'm gonna be buying into the company, kind of, and believing that in 5 years it's gonna be big and you're gonna start making money,
Okay. Yeah,
I
that
don't
makes
even
sense.
know where to start, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think start off with asking yourself like the critical questions around area of genius. Like, what do you need to hand off in terms of the business? Like, what are your most critical needs? And if you could have somebody that met those needs today, like what would they be like? What skill set would they have? Would it be primarily finance? Would it be primarily operations or business? And how many hours would they be willing to work just for equity? You know what I mean? Like, how could you make that a proposition for them that is enticing and that makes sense for them and for you and is thoughtful? And so, yeah, we can continue to talk about that too. And like, we can have a conversation like offline off here, about how you could structure that. I'm happy to support you in just like creating some direction around that.
Yeah.
Because that sounds like that's kind of what you're in need of, is like a operational co-founder. You need somebody who can handle like primarily the operational, like business aspects, and just let you be the face and the creative. And that's totally like, you're doing great running everything on your own, but like, what are ways that we can like, you know, find somebody to shave off like small bits of like cost here and there, and like make this more efficient and allow you to have more free time so that you can make more sales, so that margins will, you know, go down, and like, you know, the cost of
Volume up.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, volume up, exactly. So
Yeah, that's kind of, thank you for saying that, and thank you for the offer. That's kind of like what I was talking yesterday. I was like, I want to meet for you, because it's like every person I've met in this program has different parts of genius that bring the wisdom to the table. And it's like, you know, kind of like, you know, making that board of like, you know, knowledge. So
yeah,
cool. Thank
absolutely.
you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really just about getting it all organized and just figuring out, you know, again, like, got to think about it from like an open-minded perspective. Like, what can you offer? What do you want to get off the table? And then, you know, maybe you're not going to get everything all at once, but at least if you can get a couple more things, like one bit at a time, like taken care of by, you know, whoever, then you can continue to bring in more awareness to the brand, more sales, etc. And that's really where the money is going to be, by allowing you to operate in that area of genius. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Nicole, how about you? Any other thoughts or questions? You got your fires under control there?
Yes, thank you about that. Sorry.
Oh.
It's just one of those days where I don't know. I I try to set my time aside, and then I think that's my struggle right now. It's just not finding enough time to do everything, and I can sympathize with what Jody was saying, as far as, and what you're saying too, like with the whole networking thing. I feel like because I'm so tied up with production, and I'm so tied up with the operations, and anything really, I think for me, part of it, networking is hard. And not to mention, you know, my ambivert personality, where I feel like a lot of the times I just want to be in my introvert side and just like be on my own. But I do understand the power of networking. But for me, like really too, because I have a 3-year-old as well. So I'm trying to like juggle everything, and, you know, keep a straight head. And because I don't have enough employees, and because I can't afford all these employees, I have to do a lot of things myself. So I kind of end up having to choose where, yes, I am a part of them. I did collaborate with Mary Sue. I had a collaboration with her for Freeze Art in Santa Monica. So she came to me and asked me to make tortillas for her. So my tortillas were out there in the public in that event. So that was nice. And that was, you know, and I probably need to be on there more, but again, I'm also looking for, you know, I'm shopping for my own private kitchen, and then I'm also drawing up the floor plan for the kitchens that I found, so that I can fill it with, you know, like equipment and other things that I need to financially plan for, so that I know what I can fit in there. So I don't know. So it's a lot, and yeah, I probably do need to, and but I do know that I have to just do it more. I don't know how else to organize it right now, but I know that I do need to do it more. With whatever, you know, whatever chunk of or block of time that I allow myself to have, I guess. But that's my current struggle as well. I mean, it would be nice to be able to, you know, to have more sales, but I feel like if I just focus on sales, then nothing else would move forward, to, you know, to how I would like it to grow, or how I need it to be.
Yeah, I think you're in a different position than Jody. You know, I think Jody enjoys that, like in front of the customer, kind of like doing the sale, talking to the people aspect. And for you, you like to be behind the scenes a little more. Yeah. Oh, you're on mute, love. You're on mute, Nicole.
Sorry. I love that. Like, that's part of the reason too why I did farmers market. So I do farmers markets. I love talking to people. I love to hearing their stories, connecting with them. It's just the other part of it, I guess, where I have to talk about myself that
Mhm.
I'm not particularly in love with. But you know, I don't know, but I again with and I'm trying
What's
to
your
find.
roadblock with talking about yourself? Let's address that. What is it?
I don't know. I feel like it's vain. Like it just comes off vain sometimes, and I I think like I guess I don't really find that I have aside from my passion for what I do, I don't know that I particularly like to share so much of the other stuff, or that I don't think that people don't need to know that. Like to me, it's like my passion will just reflect on my work. And you know, I just come from a background like culture that we just we don't talk about ourselves like that, you know, and it's a little bit hard to kind of move away from that a little bit. So that's a part of my it's kind of like what you were saying, how you share, or you have to find that balance with I don't know, like I guess like boasting or like trying to like say the good things about yourself, and then I don't know, being humble, I guess, in a way, like finding that balance. I'm still trying to find what that balance is for me, where I don't feel like I'm oversharing, and yeah, that's kind of like where I'm at.
Yeah, great. Thanks for sharing that. I feel like what comes up for me is your humility should not stop you from sharing your story. Otherwise, you're just creating a block for yourself. That's what I feel when I listen to you talk about that. You know, your humility shouldn't stop you from sharing your story because other people are waiting to be empowered by your story. They need to hear about you as a business person and how you overcame the challenges that you overcame to create something. This inspires more people to do that, you know, and we need more businesses in the world, more people in the world who are doing things with passion. And there's a difference between being proud of what you've done and being arrogant. And it's okay to be proud of what you've done and like show that in your story and like talk about yourself from like the perspective of your story and the perspective of your experiences. And like, don't get me wrong, there's still like points where I also struggle to be like, okay, yeah, I've done all of this, and to not downplay what I've done. But like, we need women to do this. We especially need women and like minorities to do this and to talk about themselves and not be afraid, because, you know, like, this is the advice that I got from another powerful woman. How many of those old white men in the boardroom are scared to tell their story? None, because they haven't been silenced and they haven't been minimized. And it's time for us to stop also doing that to ourselves and downplaying the importance and the power of what we've done. You know, it is really important for us to be fully embodied and to be fully like in alignment with sharing what we've done, because our stories really truly do benefit other people. So I hope you find that power in your voice, because the world really does need to hear it, and it's exciting. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope that was helpful for you. And so just keep that in mind when you struggle with that. It is
Yes,
important.
it always helps. It's like one of those things that you know, but like it always helps to be reminded and to hear it again because it's
Yep.
true.
Yeah, absolutely. And just keep reminding yourself that too. You know, I had to really keep that in mind for myself as well as I began like pitching my company, as I moved into the world of business. Like, I wasn't trained to go into business, you know, like I wasn't trained in the world of business, and I learned this myself, you know, like I learned this through having great teachers and having great mentors, and all of those things are, you know, like an actual background in something. So many people I know who are successful in like Silicon Valley who had zero background in the thing that they became successful in. And it's all about finding whatever your passion is, owning your story, and then getting other people to buy into it, you know, making it a reality. That's it. And you know, we say that's it. Obviously, it's not a complicated thing, but you know, it's like it is and it isn't at the same time. So it's always good to remind ourselves of that, and just, you know, check in with other people around you, you know, like check in. It's something where we all need to be here to support each other on this path, and you have a great network here in this accelerator. And yeah, this is a good place to continue to do that and to continue to empower yourself.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Cool. All right, ladies. Well, we are at 12 o'clock for you over there on the West Coast. Anything else you'd like to talk about before we wrap up for the day? Awesome. Well, thank you all so much, and I appreciate you. Thank you, Maybelline. You can always reach out to me through email or be in touch through WhatsApp or Instagram. My information is on the end of the deck that Maybelline sent out. And please just don't hesitate to contact me if you need anything. I'm here.
Jennifer.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Jennifer.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
ladies. Have a
Nice to
great
meet you,
day.
Nicole. Bye,
You
Maybelline.
too.
You.
Bye, Jody.
Bye.